I think it's stupid not to learn why people disagree with you or the other side disagrees with one side or another. Learn or understand, obtuse, tending to make poor decisions or careless mistakes, marked by lack of intelligence or care, foolish or careless. Dietrich Bonhoeffer says stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion, in that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. Neither protests nor use of force accomplish anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical. And when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. Basically, I'm not sure whether it's, the stupidity in not knowing the other side of an argument. I don't know whether it's just, I think it's probably just because people tend to be incurious about what the other side thinks, or if they don't care, that is stupid. Being incurious about why someone else thinks the opposite of what you think is stupid. And don't know where to go from there. Here's an opinion piece that Michelle Goldberg wrote. I think it's on February 13th, 2025, concerning um, Trump's stance on academia. And basically, she feels that Trump is anti academia, wants to shut it down, and it's not just because of wokeness. Um, let's listen to what she has to say.
Trump wants to destroy all academia, not just the woke parts. This article is by Michelle Goldberg and read by an automated voice. In 2021, J.D. Vance gave a speech to the National Conservatism Conference, a gathering of Trumpist thinkers and politicians, titled "The Universities Are the Enemy." It contained the usual complaints about critical race theory and gender ideology, but it went much further, arguing for a frontal attack on the power and prestige of higher education writ large, comparing universities to the sci-fi totalitarianism of The Matrix, in which parasitic machines have seized control of reality itself. He said, "So much of what drives truth and knowledge as we understand it in this country is fundamentally determined by, supported by, and reinforced by the universities. Why," he asked, "have conservatives consented to such intellectual tyranny?" Vance, then a Senate candidate, described being at a donor event and talking to a supporter about the absurdity of encouraging kids to take on debt to go to colleges that will brainwash them. The supporter asked, "What's the alternative? I don't want my kid to become an HVAC specialist, installing and repairing heating and air conditioning systems." With that attitude, said Vance, "we're going to continue to empower the colleges and the universities that make it impossible for conservative ideas to ultimately carry the day." Put aside for a moment The hypocrisy of this message coming from a man catapulted into the highest strata of American society by Yale Law School. The striking thing about Vance's speech was its deep hostility to the entire academic enterprise, not just the so-called woke parts. He wasn't talking about making more room for right-wing ideas in universities or even dreaming of taking them over. He wanted to destroy it all. And now he's part of a government taking steps to do just that. I've written about Donald Trump's plan to crush the academic left, but it increasingly looks as though he and his allies are targeting academia more broadly, including the hard sciences that have long enjoyed bipartisan support. I think the extremely strong desire is to just punish universities however possible. Kevin Carey, the director of the Education Policy Program at New America, a public policy think tank, told me it's not based on any kind of coherent policy agenda. It's just a desire to inflict pain. This is the context for the Trump administration's attempt, currently being challenged in court, to slash research funding from the National Institutes of Health. The details sound technical and very boring. The new policy would limit reimbursements for schools' overhead expenses to 15% of grants value, instead of the 50 to 70% that universities often receive now. But if this goes into effect, the damage will be tremendous. As H. Holden Thorpe, the editor of Science, wrote, for every dollar spent on academic research, roughly another dollar is needed for lab equipment, support staff, and systems for managing grants. Right now, the government funds a big chunk of these indirect costs, with universities picking up the remainder. If the government reduces its contribution to 15%, universities could try to close the gap by raising tuition and eliminating departments. But it wouldn't be enough. Crucial research projects, including those investigating cures for devastating diseases, would have to be scaled back or jettisoned altogether. These cuts could hit some Trump-voting states particularly hard. In Alabama, North Carolina, and others, universities are among the biggest employers, which is why some Republican senators are at least gingerly objecting to the new reimbursement rules. But that's only one reason the administration's full-spectrum war on academia defies rational self-interest. The post-World War II system of government-funded research universities has fueled American scientific and technological dominance, but our continued preeminence is in no way assured. China, after all, continues to invest strongly in its universities. Part of our decline as a culture and economy would be our disinvestment in higher education, said Michael Roth, the president of Wesleyan University. Maybe we'll just invest in world wrestling, but I don't think that's going to mean that other countries and other cultures won't continue to invest in the capacity of their citizens to learn in such a way as to create new modes of living, new modes of fighting disease, new modes of creating companies. To torch America's advantage in these realms seems like madness. But there's a lot of madness in the air these days. In December, Max Eden of the American Enterprise Institute published an article about how Linda McMahon, the former World Wrestling Entertainment chief executive whom Trump nominated to be Secretary of Education, could give the college cartel the body slamming they deserve. One of the first items on Eden's list was capping the reimbursement of indirect research costs at 15%, exactly as the Trump team is trying to do. From there, Eden proposed that McMahon should simply destroy Columbia University, home, among other things, to one of the best medical schools in America, as a warning to other schools about the price of tolerating anti-Israel protest. Ultimately, however much some in the Trump administration want to gut American universities, Kerry doesn't think they'll fully succeed. These are deeply rooted institutions, some older than the Republic itself, many with powerful constituencies. After 4 years of Trump, he said, they'll still be there, but they certainly could be weakened. The quality of their work could certainly be diminished in ways that will take time to recover from. Their weakness could be an opportunity for others. Eden suggested that Trump take steps to make it easier to start schools like the anti-woke University of Austin, and even newer ones that no one has dreamed up yet, Musk University. But why stop there? Trump University could be due for a comeback.
Two things here, where Michelle Goldberg uses the term madness, substitutes stupid, and, that kind of makes my point. And the other thing that concerns me is conservative ideas carrying the day. That pretty much sounds like, you know, that sounds like squelching um, opposition to conservative ideas. And that kind of dovetails into something that's happening with the Eric Adams case. Um, Trump, through Pam Bondi, basically, you know, wants the case against Eric Adams' corruption charges and, the other charges in there to be dropped. And there were resignations by uh, uh, the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York to quit. She and several other lawyers quit because of that request. And essentially, what Trump is wanting is these people basically do loyalty. If they're told to do something, right, wrong, or indifferent, if Trump wants it, you need to do it. The loyalty test. And doing what's right is not necessarily, the right thing to do. And the other thing to note is that these people who resigned, at least the lady who is the acting attorney general, I'm sorry, the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, is a Republican. So, basically, Republicans who want to do the right thing, if it is in conflict with loyalty to the desires of Donald Trump, they are basically going to be in trouble. And this leads into a short opinion piece by Ross Douthat, um, another conservative New York Times columnist, with a little bit of, I don't know whether it's advice or warning for Donald Trump or the Trump administration. And he's basically saying that it was easy to predict that a diktat from Donald Trump's Justice Department would, at some point in his second term, prompt resignations from career prosecutors with conservative legal bona fides. Given Trump's crude transactionalism and his administration's determination to reshape the boundaries of executive power, it was always likely that we get some version of the conflict now pitting Trump's acting Deputy Attorney General, Emil Bo III, against Danielle Sassoon and the other prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. That's the district that was responsible for bringing charges against Eric Adams. He continues, it is extremely surprising, however, that the conflict would be sought and stoked just weeks into Trump's 4 year term, and for the sake of protecting Eric Adams, a Democratic mayor of a liberal city with just 11 months left in his term. And I'll leave it to you, folks, to go ahead and read the rest of the article. But essentially, what Doubt That is saying is that Trump seems to be shooting himself in the foot. Maybe there is a bigger plan, but it's not readily apparent right now. So you're taking people who are conservatives. Um, Sassoon clerked for Justice Chief Justice Roberts. So I mean, she is fairly conservative, um, but right is right, and loyalty, just blind loyalty, isn't necessarily quote right. Personally, I think it's stupid to alienate people who are conservatives um, just because you want them to be blindly loyal to to a president. Um, this is problematic, and I think Trump is going to wind up um, alienating a lot of people who would ordinarily be um, on board with what his plans are. He's going to lose a lot of young people, young conservatives, true conservatives, because I don't think Trump is the poster boy for what a conservative is. Um, Doubt that ends this um, short opinion piece with this, and I quote: "Thus, the downside of enforcing absolute loyalty early in a largely pointless battle." He's talking about Eric Adams having less than a year left as mayor of New York and facing a very steep uphill battle to be reelected. Absolute loyalty early in a largely pointless battle is that it signals to competent lawyers, both inside and outside the administration, that to work for Trump requires immediate subservience, not just cautious, careful service. And that signal tells the talented and principled exactly the kind of lawyers Trump needs to win. Supreme Court cases that they're better off sitting this administration out. Trump is going to lose talent with this stupid um, loyalty um, requirement.